Hi, this is Janet at the BrightStar Care Franchise Support Center. Welcome to Personal Care Automation. This is the first in a series of modules to help you learn how to use ABS to document an electronic assessment, plan of care, and task list. In this first video, you'll learn how to document a client assessment. Specifically, we'll look at how to open an existing customer record, how to start an initial assessment, how to complete each of the assessment sections, and finally, to save a draft. Let's get started. First, we look at the big picture and what we call the automated personal care life cycle. When someone calls your office inquiring about care, the office staff creates what's called an inquiry record in ABS. This becomes a customer record once the client has signed on for care. The customer record is where you, the nurse, starts the assessment, which generates a plan of care that you edit and finalize. Once the plan of care is activated, the automated task list is generated for the caregiver to view and work from at the client visit. Back at the office, automated notifications and alerts can be set up to notify you of necessary information regarding clients. There are also new reports available to track care. We'll talk more about this later, but for now, know that once you start an electronic assessment in ABS, you have 3 business days to complete both the comprehensive client assessment and plan of care from start to finish. Again, more on this later. So let's get started with learning about the assessment. That's what we'll focus on in this video. Here we are on the ABS home screen. First step to documenting an assessment is to open the customer record. We'll do that now. Click the customer search button under Quick Links. The search screen displays. You search, then select your client, in our case, Hazel. Hazel's customer record displays with her details collected from the inquiry call. To start the assessment, click Assessments in the navigation menu. The assessment section displays, and as you can see, there is no existing assessment for Hazel. This makes sense. She's a new client. To add a new initial assessment, click the green plus. The assessment screen displays. Let's get oriented. We see Hazel's name at the top, the date we started the assessment in ABS, and we can see this is an initial assessment. You also see various sections to the left. These are the same sections and type of information you documented on the paper assessment. Notice that some sections display with a red asterisk. These indicate that there is at least one required field in the section that must be completed. And once you enter data into a field, the asterisk disappears. Now that we know what we're looking at, let's get started documenting. I'll open the demographics section first using my mouse. Here, we see several yellow highlighted fields. These indicate information that was brought over from the customer record. So things like date of birth and gender that the office staff entered into the customer record show up here as well. You then add additional information. One key field is the emergency contact field. I'll add Hazel's daughter here. Click the check mark to save this information. It's important to note that this is the only contact brought over from the customer record. So if the customer record shows other types of contacts, you won't see those here. Also note that the information you enter in yellow fields will be saved in the customer record after you activate the plan of care. We'll talk more about that later. One last field here. let's click the Section Reviewed box in the right corner. This lets us know later that we've already reviewed this section. Now let's move to the Advanced Directives section. I'll open that section now. Notice the green Saved box in the upper right. That tells us that the information I just entered into the Demographics section is being saved. So moving from section to section automatically saves your data. Here's what you need to know about the Advanced Directives section. These are yellow fields, so information comes over from the customer record. Also note that full code defaults, so make sure you review and change if appropriate. Legal guardian information can be entered or changed as well. We'll mark this section as reviewed. Okay, so we've reviewed the Demographics and Advanced Directives sections. These changed blue because we marked the sections as reviewed. Let's move on to the Functional Assessment section. I'll open that now. So, here are some key points. The Functional Assessment section includes both ADL and IADL skills. And when you select BrightStar in the Who Helps field, it generates a finding on the plan of care. Let's take a look. First, we'll indicate there is a change due to an illness. Then, we'll open the ADL Skills section. The activities of daily living are listed. We'll start at the top with toileting. Hazel is independent using the toilet. I'll mark that now. So yes, she is independent. However, she needs help with transferring and mobility, and she uses a cane. So I'll mark mobility as no, meaning she is not independent. Then indicate she needs assistance. In the Who Helps field, we'll indicate both BrightStar Care and Family. I'll now indicate she uses a cane. So the key features to remember are, when you select BrightStar under Who Helps, this automatically generates a finding on the plan of care. And fields can have more than one entry. The IADL Skills section works in the same way. We'll move on for now. Let's open the Review of Systems section. Here we see different sections for each system, some marked as required with a red asterisk. Let's open the Psychological section. I'll click that section now. Hazel is alert and oriented to person, place, and time. I'll add those here. First click Person, then click the field again to add Place, click again to add Time. If any of these three are not picked, a finding will display on the plan of care. She doesn't need help with these. I'll then complete the remaining fields as well. So the key things to remember here are that items marked as positive or BrightStar to Assist will generate a finding on the plan of care. Okay, let's move to the Fall Risks section. Here we see that some items have a grayed out checkbox. This indicates that risks were brought over from information you entered in other sections of the assessment. For example, confusion. Roll your mouse over the information icon, that's the blue eye, to see additional details. Here we see that confusion was entered in the Review of Systems section under Psychological, hence the risk displaying here. This also generates a finding on the plan of care. You can add additional risks as well. I'll do that now. Next, Let's move to the client family expectations and goals. Any details we add here display on the plan of care. Lastly, we finish with the signature section. Here's what you need to know. First, the nurse's name, signature, and title are required. That's who documented the assessment. Click the feather icon to sign. Then manually type your name and title. Second, the client signature is optional on the assessment. And lastly, the next assessment date automatically populates based on client type. You can change this date to comply with state regulations if needed. Last step is to save the assessment as a draft. Or, if you are finished documenting a comprehensive assessment, you would click Create Plan of Care to move on. You'll learn more about this later in the next video. For now, I'll click Save as Draft. We land back on the customer record in the assessment section. Here, we see that our assessment has a status of draft. Here's who completed it. That would be your name. It's an initial assessment and the date we entered into ABS. The binocular icon is for viewing a summary of the assessment, and the pencil icon is for editing. And that's it. We've documented an assessment and saved as a draft. Let's review. First, how do you start an assessment? You access the assessment from the customer record, then click the green plus to get started. Later, use the pencil icon to edit. Next, what do red asterisks indicate? They indicate at least one field is required in a section, and they'll disappear once you enter data in the fields. What about yellow highlighted fields? What are those for? That means information was brought over from the customer record. And we also said that information you enter in these fields in the assessment will be saved in the customer record after you activate the plan of care. You'll learn more about this later. Section Reviewed. What's that? Well, if you check mark or click this box in each section, you'll know you've already reviewed it. The section turns blue. Why is the Who Helps field a key field? When you select BrightStar in this field, it generates a finding on the plan of care. And remember, click the field more than once to select multiple people to help. What about signatures? What's required? So you, as the documenting nurse, must sign the assessment. And the client's signature is optional, depending on your local agency policies. And lastly, what does the Save as Draft button do? Remember, use the Save as Draft button when you're not yet finished with the assessment and plan to come back to it later. Use the Create Plan of Care button when you are completely finished documenting a comprehensive assessment and are ready to work on the plan of care. Again, more on that in the next video. Okay, one more thing. Remember we talked about the life cycle and said we had 3 business days to complete and activate the assessment and plan of care. Let's look at what this means. If you start an assessment on a Monday and save as a draft, you have 3 days before it becomes inactive. This doesn't include weekends or holidays. So if you start on Friday, you still have 3 days the following week to activate. So it's 3 business days to complete and activate the assessment and plan of care. And that's it. Remember, in this video, we focused on documenting the assessment. You'll learn about the plan of care in the next video. You should now know how to open a customer record, start an initial assessment, complete the assessment sections, and save as a draft. Next steps are to complete the hands-on exercises using the ABS Sandbox system. Look in the Learning Guide for more details. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.